Good evening. Good evening. Welcome back. Welcome back to We Need to Talk with Tony Lindsay. I am your host, Tony Lindsay, and we are back again for another Fact Check Friday. We are going to make this a regular part of the show because, as y'all know, this is a very polarizing environment, and a lot of folks are in their feelings. And so we just want, and the reason why a lot of them are in their feelings is because we've been lied to. A lot of us are being lied to. So we created this segment so we can just correct some of the misinformation that's out there, so we can debunk some of the lies that have been getting people all in their feelings, so that people can make, maybe a little clearer decisions. So I want to welcome Crystal back to the show. Hey,
Hey,
Crystal.
Tony, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to go ahead and discuss this because the foolishness is getting crazy.
Yes, it is. It's almost you're seeing like families breaking up over these political conversations. There's so much hostility. Like social
Mhm.
media right now, it's just a super toxic place to participate in any type of political discourse.
It really is. I was on somebody's live the other day, and before I could get 5 words out, because they realized where I stand politically, they dropped me before I could even say 2 points. This is what we're living in today, people. This is what
Yes,
we're
it
living.
is. Yes, it is. So where do you think we should start today? Because oh,
Hmm.
look what happened. See? Oh, by the way, guys, I've been so heavily censored on social media, and not for misinformation, not for any type of hostile rhetoric, but just basically because I'm honest, because I'm trying to share information with folks to basically equip you guys with the proper information to make informed decisions. But unfortunately, because I'm doing that, I'm being like super heavily shadow banned on all meta platforms. So if you look for me over there, you're probably not gonna find me. So uh but yeah, okay, here it is. So right now, I'm sorry, I'm trying to fix the stream so that people can see me, because I just went in there and I see that they had it blocked. So I had to unblock it.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy. It's
See,
crazy.
it's
Yeah.
it's never ending, never ever ending.
And for all of you guys who are on Instagram, whoever might see me here, or if you're on Facebook, you got to come over to Rumble. You got to go over to Rumble, either Rumble or YouTube. You can find me here at Rumble. Obviously, we need to talk with Tony Lindsay, or YouTube. We need to talk with Tony. So we're gonna get started. The first thing we want to talk about. What's the first thing you want to cover today?
I think we should start again with the abortion ban because I think every time I go into one of these rooms, they're always talking about abortion. So I think we should start off with abortion. I really want to talk about the until the time of birth because people.
Ah,
I told you about that thing, that senator, and you shared that senator with me, and I think that's something we should talk about because people don't think that's a real thing.
okay, okay. Actually, yes, that's a good conversation to have. Uh, Hold on before we even go there. All right, so yeah, so we're gonna talk about the Donald Trump's charged statements. Every time Donald Trump is at a rally, every time he's at a debate, he always says this thing about, they're doing abortions up until the ninth month, up until birth, even sometimes after the child is born. I'm sure you guys remember him saying that, right? So we're gonna deal with that. We're gonna deal with that. So well, I guess we can start by just listening to what he said. Let's just go based on the debate, right? The most recent debate he had with Kamala Harris. Let's listen to his statements and then we'll take it from there. All right. So this is Donald Trump on the abortion ban.
Rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby.
The baby will be born and we'll decide to do what to do with the baby, right? And he's interpreting it as we'll execute the baby, right? Okay, let's just let him finish. And look at Kamala Harris's face. Look how she's giving him that look.
So smug.
Because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years, they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the...
Okay, so we get it, okay? So clearly Donald Trump is giving his interpretation on what they said, right? That they're saying the baby could be born up to the 9th month. And so there have been a lot of articles that came out since then that have been fact-checking Donald Trump on that. And so now let me see if there any of the folks in the chat have you guys been hearing this stuff? I mean, because when I heard Donald Trump say it, I'm gonna be honest, I was cringing. I was like, oh man, he's going right back to that talking point again. Like, stop, just don't do it. Don't do it. But then I started to dig deeper and you won't believe what I found. So
please share it. Please share it.
Oh my Lord. Yeah, let me just share with you guys. Now, this here, what I'm going to share with you first here. And remember, folks, this is not about feelings. This is about facts, right? This is only facts. We're not dealing in feelings here. Now, what I'm going to show you here is her name is Kathy Tran. All right. And she was the author of the Repeal Act. It was introduced by her. She's a Democrat. She was from Springfield, Oklahoma. And what she sought to do was to repeal the restrictions on abortions, including terminations up until the moment of birth, under the provisions of a bill backed by the governor at the time, Governor Ralph Northam, and a substantial number of Democrat lawmakers. So this is what the Democrats were supporting. I want you guys to hear it for yourself, all right? This is not me. This is coming from the mouth of the author of the legislation that was widely supported by Democrats. Here we go. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. Hold on. There we go.
See, would your bill apply if a physician was simply willing to certify that the continuation of the pregnancy would impair the mental health of the woman? How late are we talking about?
Well, so the way the suggestion that we've made in the bill is to say it's in the 3rd trimester and at the, with the certification of the physician. So
how late in the 3rd trimester would you be able to do that?
It's very unfortunate that our physicians, witnesses, were not able to attend today to speak specifically.
No, I'm talking about your bill. How late in the 3rd trimester could a physician perform an abortion if he indicated it would impair the mental health of the woman
or physical health?
Okay. I'm talking about the mental health.
So, through the 3rd trimester. The 3rd trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks.
Okay.
Let's pause that right there. The 3rd trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks. Now, for all the women out there who have had children before, what's the typical gestational period where you have, by the time you have a baby? Isn't it the full term? Isn't that considered 37 weeks?
It's between 37 and 40 weeks because they say 40. It can actually go to 42, but it's usually 37. Women usually have their baby 37 to 38, somewhere around there.
Okay, so she's saying to 40 weeks. Okay, let's
Mhm.
continue.
Okay, but to the end of the third trimester.
Yep, I don't think we have a limit in the bill.
So
No limit. I think he's
where
taking
it's
it back.
obvious that a woman is about to give birth. She has physical signs of that she is about to give a birth. Would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified? She's dilating.
Mr. Chairman, that would be a decision that the doctor, the physician, and the woman would
I understand
make at
that. I'm
that
asking
point.
if your bill allows that.
My bill would allow that, yes.
I want to make sure that y'all are paying attention right now.
Exactly. She's so cold and callous, and she says it too.
Yeah. No, but you can see she's trying not to say it outright.
Exactly.
Yep. Look, yeah, I just want y'all to see it. Y'all calling Donald Trump crazy, but I just want y'all to see it. Hold on, there's more.
I certainly could have said a week from her due date, and that would have been the same answer, correct?
That it's allowed in the bill, yes.
Yes. And in addition to what you just represented, you do acknowledge that you substantially changed the standard by removing a couple of words here, correct?
From two to
Substantially and irremediably. I'm sorry, line 80. Line 80.
I'm sorry. Can you just tell me? I think I'm in the right part.
We'll cover the language that she removed from the standing legislation, and you'll see why it matters.
You're looking at
Line 80.
Line 80. You are changing the standard under which the judgment call is made.
I'm aware.
The third trimester bill.
For an abortion at any point in the third trimester. You're changing the standard.
I'm changing the standard, yes.
Okay, all right. What type of mental health conditions would you anticipate would be utilized by physicians under these circumstances to determine that a child that is otherwise viable is worthy of an abortion?
She's gonna say she doesn't know.
I mean, again, I'm not a physician, so I can't make those calls as to when a.
Okay, let me clarify. Let me clarify for those of you who may not understand what you're listening to right now. She removed certain language and she created language that basically said that if the doctor deems that there's a medical issue or a serious medical issue, that they could abort the child, even at the time of birth. You're hearing that. Now, they lowered the standard. They removed certain words in order to create a subjective standard where it's not just physical health, like the physical health of the mother. You know how they have abortion bans where they say as long as, if the mother's life is threatened or if she's in danger of serious, bodily damage or death, then of course you can have it. But this is changing that language to include mental health.
Yep.
That's very subjective. So if the doctor there's no psychiatrist or anything involved in that. If the person delivering the child decides that she's not mentally equipped or prepared, or she's going through some mental crisis, that can be used as a justification to abort that child who is alive and is on its way out of the womb. Just wanted you guys to know that. But
Tony, you need to also know that includes depression, because that was part of it. Depression is part of it. So if you are dealing with depression, they consider that a reason to do it.
A reason to abort your child in the 9th month if you're depressed.
Physician would determine that a woman's mental health would where they would be able to certify an abortion at that point.
But the physician wouldn't have to have any specialized training in mental health to make that determination under your bill, right?
Under this bill, no.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, thank you. Delegate Tran, what are some of the conditions that a woman could be experiencing in a third trimester?
Okay. I think you guys got the point right there. So I'm wondering, how many people knew about this? before I continue, how many folks?
I'm looking in the comments. They're like, "Wow!" Like people are like, "What?"
Yeah, but here's the thing. I'm gonna give you a little bit more. I'm gonna give you a little bit more on the actual bill now, because I think you guys need to see the legislation. All right, just to get a clearer view. Here's the legislation itself. It's called the Repeal Act of Virginia. And can you guys see it? Yep. All right. Oh man, I wonder if they
No, you
probably
can see
can't.
it.
Yeah, I don't know if they can see it. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of read from it. The Repeal Act was proposed in Virginia by Delegate Kathy Tran that would have repealed some of the state's restrictions on abortion. The bill would have reduced the number of physicians that are required to approve a third-term abortion from 3, I think it was from 3 to 1.
Mhm.
Yeah, from 3 to 1. And it lowered the threshold for the approval to the requirement that there be a medical reason for the abortion from the previous requirement that the pregnant woman be substantially and irremediably harmed by continuing her pregnancy. Similar bills had been introduced in previous years, and one was also introduced by Senator Jennifer Boysko in the Senate in 2019. The bill was tabled by the House Republicans. So I just wanted you guys to see exactly what that bill did. It took out the language. Basically, it changed it from having like a second and a third opinion on that, and it reduced it to just being the decision of that one medical professional who, by her own words, does not have to have any experience in mental health. Someone
And
said
they call it infanticide. That's what they call it.
infanticide.
Yes, that's the word for it. That's how they're framing it.
Yes. Someone said the video is frozen. Is it frozen?
Where?
Someone in the
It
comments said
depends on where they're watching it. Let me see, because I'm looking here and not on here.
all right. Well, if no one is complaining about it, I'm going to continue. All right.
Mhm.
So where is it? All right, let's open this one. I did the Repeal Act. Now I want to show you guys in this governor's word, in the governor's own words. I think that might be helpful. This is the governor at the time, and this is his support for that bill. This is what he articulates he's supporting in that legislation. Okay. Want you guys to see it. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Is it bigger? All right, cool. Here you go. Oops. Audio.
Yesterday when Fairfax County Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on third trimester abortions as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her or no exception. There was a very contentious committee hearing yesterday when Fairfax County Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on third trimester abortions as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I was
Mr. JT, yes, that is the governor that Trump was talking about. Here are his own words.
wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I will tell you first thing I would say is this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities. There may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. the infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired, and then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion. But again, we want the government not to be involved in these types of decisions. We want the decision to be made by the.
You're muted.
Did y'all hear what he said? What did you all really hear what that man just said?
The people in the comments they're mad hearing this. They're upset.
Yeah. This is why I say it's so important for us to be informed. We have to know what it is that we're voting for. You know, this is crazy. Now, Trump also made an assertion where he said that there were like 6 states where they allow, I think that they allow it up until the 9th month, right?
Mhm.
I've been seeing Donald Trump fact checked everywhere. And so this is actually an Axios article. And Axios is one of those media platforms that is obviously hostile to Donald Trump. But I found this. I just thought maybe some folks would like to see it. I don't know if you can see it here. Let me see if I can. Now this is about the abortion laws. Oh, it's not showing it. Is it showing it? Let me see.
It's showing, but it's not scrolling.
Okay, wait. It's got to be this one. How late is it scrolling now?
Wait, say no
All right,
thanks.
yeah. Hold on. What the hell? All right. How late in pregnancy each state allows abortions. Now, the light purple is 24 weeks to viability. The gray areas are, let's just go straight to the gray areas. That's no limit. That means there's no limit on abortion. It can go all the way up to the 9th month, according to the legislation. So you have Arkansas, Oregon, Colorado, New Mexico, New Jersey, DC, Vermont. So it wasn't even 6, it's 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess when they fact checked Donald Trump and said he was wrong by saying that 6 states allow it, yeah, he was wrong.
He
It's
was
7.
wrong by one. Exactly.
It's 7. I mean,
Somebody just said in the comments, which I did see in Walsh's bill. I don't know if Minnesota was one of them, but he stopped reporting it, but it still happens. They have that no limit as well. When you check his abortion bill, he has that as well.
oh, so is that why he named Walls?
Yeah, because in his state they have it. Mm-hmm.
That would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to show one last thing on this topic because I really think this is an important topic, right? A lot of folks, I want to like thoroughly debunk this. So this is a fact check that was done on Donald Trump regarding this. And if you read the fact check, you see it says fact check. Let's zoom in. New York's now this was about New York. New York's abortion law doesn't allow any abortion up until birth, as claimed, right? This is just one of the states where it became a big issue. So I just want to read some of the language, right? The state's abortion law has previously been the subject of misinformation, right? But let's go straight down to it. The law does not define health or viability of a fetus. The determination of these factors must be made by a healthcare practitioner or licensed, blah, 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 blah. But it removed abortions. Wait, I'm trying to find it. Oh, so their rating is partly false. While it is true that New York's abortion law allows procedures after 24 weeks, there are rules guiding that procedure. If the fetus is not viable or if the health or life of the mother is at risk. If medical practitioners determine that either of these factors are present, the mother can choose to have an abortion. So I think the thing is the subjectivity of the term, like healthy,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to like a medical emergency where the
Yep.
mother's life may be threatened. And so, yeah, I think that's That's pretty much it. Was it the AP fact check? Yes, here it is. This is the last one. All right. This is the one that I was actually looking for. All right. This is the one. I want you guys to look at the language here. Now, this is Trump's claim. This is from the Associated Press. Democrats are aggressively pushing late-term abortion, allowing children to be ripped from their mother's womb right up until the moment of birth. The baby is born, and you wrap the baby beautifully, and you talk to the mother about the possible execution of the baby. Now, this is him at a Panama City Beach rally in Florida. Now, we know Donald Trump uses the word execution, but I believe it's pretty obvious he's speaking in terms of letting the baby die. That's what they're saying. Once the child is born, they decide on whether they are going to allow the child to survive. And here's the facts. Now, this is their fact check on him. Federal data suggests that very few U.S. babies are born alive as a result of a failed abortion. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recorded 143 deaths between 2003 and 2014 involving infants born alive during attempted abortions. Now, pay attention to this. Anti-abortion politicians and activists have been pushing for state and federal legislation this year that would impose criminal penalties on doctors who fail to give medical care to babies born alive after a failed abortion. Remember, so they're saying that once that child is born alive, it's a human. It's entitled to medical care. So organizations representing obstetricians and gynecologists say existing laws already provide protections to every healthy newborn, whether born during a failed abortion or under the circumstances.
So it's semantics. They're playing with words.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. They're playing with words because they're saying healthy.
Yes, healthy. That was it. That was the word I was looking for. So you did see the word healthy. It was healthy.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
I had a little problem with my camera. You're right. So it's healthy. All right. So is there anything you wanted to contribute to that? Because I think hopefully people get it that when Donald Trump was saying that they're talking about abortions up until birth, that congressional testimony there proves it to you. The fact that there are laws right now in this country in at least 7 states where they are allowed to do it. There are no limits on abortion. So remember, no limits on abortions means you can do it. So I think that's clearly what Donald Trump was talking about. And my question is, like, why are people so obsessed with abortions, with having the right to terminate pregnancies? I don't hear anyone talking about, any other issues as far as, a mother's or a woman's reproductive health.
Exactly.
Whenever I hear reproductive health, the only thing I hear is abortion.
Exactly. And the thing is, Trump is sometimes a bull in a China store. And we know that.
Right.
We know that about him. He will burst through all the pretty plates and glasses and all those other things. But if you actually stop and listen to what he's saying and go research it for yourself, you will see that what he's saying is factual. He's not just saying things, making it up. He's telling you what's going on. He's just not saying it properly.
Right. Now, the next one I wanted to deal with was Kamala Harris, a quote that she gave in a speech recently where she said, women are being arrested and facing prosecution for experiencing miscarriages. That's
Tony,
been
can I just interrupt real quick? But one of our guests want us to let everybody know that Kamala voted against when they were saying to stop the infanticide,
right?
Yeah, she voted against it. She wanted it to happen while she was senator. So there you go.
Okay.
Just wanted to put that out there for people because she's saying she's here to help people, but clearly she's not. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, here's the next thing. Kamala Harris is quoted as saying women are being arrested and facing prosecution for experiencing miscarriages. Did I play? I should have played the Well, let's first play. Let me show you. Let me show you what she's talking about, actually, because what she was talking. And here's the thing: it's like I feel like Democrats, they use these situations, like they'll see like a horrible situation, and then they take it and use it to their advantage for politics, and I think it's kind of gross. Now, you see this article here from the BBC. US women are being jailed for having miscarriages. Now, that sounds crazy, right? When you listen to that, like when you read that,
Mhm.
that sounds like that's wow. How is a woman being jailed for having a miscarriage? But then when you go down, you'll see that she was actually prosecuted for first degree manslaughter. Why is that? Because she went from suffering oh, okay, has become the subject. Basically, what happened was she was on drugs. She was a drug
Mhm.
addict. And I think she was at 4 months or something like that. And what she did was she was taking drugs. She took meth. She was taking meth. And when she took, here it is, when she arrived at the hospital seeking treatment, Pula admitted to using illicit drugs while pregnant. Later, the ME report obtained by the BBC found traces of methamphetamines in her unborn son's liver and brain. So she was charged with manslaughter because she was taking drugs, and that, oh, I'm scared to say killed. It killed the baby because I'm thinking I'm on TikTok. Because on TikTok you can't say certain words. But
Five,
yeah,
six, seven in the chat. 567 in the chat.
word 567 in the chat. Right. So, and I always use this example. Like if someone was to uh commit a crime against a woman, if someone if someone killed a pregnant woman, they'd be charged with double homicide.
Yes, they would.
So if we're going to go by that standard, acknowledging that that's a human life inside of that woman, then would it not make sense that if this person is charged with a crime of manslaughter, it's because she was taking drugs recklessly that ended up killing the child inside of her? So no matter which side of the aisle you stand on, I'm just saying you cannot be hypocritical. Like if on one end you're acknowledging it as a human life, you can't just conveniently say it's not a human life when it's inconvenient to you in your situation.
Precisely. And I hate when they do stuff like they play with words. It's almost like clickbait when you see those things that they say one thing on social media, you go hit it and it's something completely different. That's what they do, and most people just read the headline. They don't read everything.
Yes. Right. And people, we have to read the headlines in order to know what's going on. Now, this was I think this is Senator Langford, I believe. This is a congressional hearing where they were speaking to healthcare providers about a lot of the allegations that have been made by Democrats, including Ayanna Pressley, Kamala Harris, many Democrats who have been using this talking point. Well, let him explain it for themselves. Let's listen to their own words.
For staying so long in this testimony and the conversation today on this. This is extremely important to be able to have a dialogue and try to get facts out there, because there's been a tremendous amount of rhetoric. And I've even heard conversations today about misinformation or rhetoric or intellectual honesty and all these things that have come out in the dialogue today. And I want to be able to help bring some things together from hearing the testimony from the entire day on this. Ms. Hackler, just to clarify on this, are there any states where women face prosecution for having an abortion?
No.
Are there any states that criminalize miscarriage?
No.
Are you listening? Listen up, y'all.
Or the care for for a miscarriage?
No.
Are there any states that criminalize removing an ectopic pregnancy?
No.
Are there any states that prohibit life-saving care for the mother?
No.
Are there any states where women have to be actively dying for a doctor to be able to act for her care?
No.
There's been a lot of rhetoric in this that I'm concerned pushes people away from getting access to health care. Vice President Harris, in a speech recently, said that women were being arrested and facing prosecution for experiencing miscarriages. Ms. Hackler, do you know of a single instance where a woman has been arrested for having a miscarriage or getting health care for that?
No, treatment for miscarriage is allowed under the law. And there have been instances where I think that one example of that that's been pointed to is misleading because the woman, I think she was in Ohio, the charges against her were not abortion related. And
She's talking about that same thing that I just showed you guys. They were not abortion related. They were related to her drug use, which is what killed the child, which is why she was charged with manslaughter. However, Democrats have been touting that as Trump abortion ban type of politics, which I think is rather disgusting.
Very.
and so it's misleading to use that as an example.
It's not only misleading, but it scares women away from getting access to health care.
Exactly.
And it leads women to not go get healthcare treatment when they desperately need it. Dr. Francis, there's been a lot of conversation about chemical abortions. Obviously, we have recent cases of Candy Miller dying from a chemical abortion. FDA has changed the rules of late to be able to say, don't give us information about consequences, don't even report that, don't turn it in. You don't have to get to a doctor to be able to get access to chemical abortions.
Wow.
There's been lots of conversations I've heard from my Democrat colleagues saying chemical abortions are as safe as Tylenol. Can you tell me a little bit more about chemical abortions?
You heard what he said?
Yep. And that's just irritating me.
Chemical abortion. So that's the abortion pill he's talking about. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And according to him, they're as safe as Tylenol. Well, to what Democrats are saying.
What the Democrats are saying, yes, that it's as safe as Tylenol. Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. That's it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I would like to correct the record in saying that complications related to these drugs are rare. We know per the FDA's own data that 1 in 25 women who take these drugs will end up going to the emergency room. And a recent study that came out actually showed that emergency room visits related to chemical abortions were significantly more likely to have a severe diagnosis code associated with them than were visits after surgical abortion or even visits after a live birth.
Oh, wow.
So women are going to the emergency room for severe complications.
So she's telling y'all that women who take the chemical abortions, who take the abortion pill, end up in the hospital with more dire circumstances than women who actually have the surgical abortion procedure, for those of you who wanted clarity. And we can continue.
Like infection. You know, back in 2006, Congress did an investigation actually after several women died from the same kind of sepsis after taking these drugs. Congress has known about this since 2006. It has continued ever since. And that is what Amber Thurman died from, and it's what Alana Dixon in Nevada died from, infection related to taking these abortion drugs. Incomplete abortion, where all of the tissue from all of the fetal tissue and placental tissue don't pass after taking these drugs, occurs in 5 to 10% of women. That may sound like a small number, but when you look at the number of chemical abortions that are done in this country every year, that's a significant number of women that are experiencing this complication. These are not as safe as Tylenol. Tylenol complications occur when women or when anyone overdoses on Tylenol and then goes to the emergency room. These complications are occurring when women take these drugs per the FDA, how they are indicated, and they're going to the emergency room at a rate of 1 in 25. These are not safe drugs, and women deserve to have accurate information about that.
Just so you guys know, she's basically saying that where all of the reported cases where you see complications from taking Tylenol, that's because of excessive use of them, like overdosing on Tylenol. So that's where you get that situation. But she's saying that the reported complications from the abortion, the chemical abortion drug, doesn't come from overuse. It comes from simple use, period. So that's a huge difference.
But Francis, FDA has changed the rules where you don't have to have access to a doctor or have a doctor review, examine you, anything.
So basically they can order the abortion pill online or on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wow.
Thing on that to be able to get the drugs to you. What are the risks there, receiving just chemical abortion drugs in the mail and not having a doctor do any kind of examination?
Oh my God.
This is extremely risky and should actually be considered medical malpractice. Without a woman seeing a physician or another medical professional, we can't confirm how far along in her pregnancy she is. We know, according to even the FDA's own data, that the farther along in pregnancy a woman is when she takes these drugs, the higher the risk of complications. And the American College of OBGYN says that up to 40% of women will be wrong about how far along they are in their pregnancy based on last menstrual period alone. That ultrasound should be used to date a pregnancy. So we can't know how far along she is in her pregnancy. We can't know that she does not have an ectopic pregnancy, which are very common and are life-threatening. We also can't screen her for Rh disease to know if she's Rh negative and needs a medication called Rogam to prevent complications in future pregnancies. All of these things could be done if a woman was being seen in person by a physician or another medical professional prior to receiving these drugs.
But the rules have changed on that. That's no longer required.
Right.
It's upsetting. And they called the young lady that the Democrats are touting everywhere right now. They called her name, Miss Amber Thurman, that they're touting, which I think is the most vile, disgusting thing I've ever heard.
And actually, I think it's time that we debunk this Amber Thurman story, because I hate to see people using the death of an innocent person for, I don't know, political
Political
advantage.
reasons. Mhm.
Yeah. I think it's so disrespectful, especially when you have Democrats who say that they're supposed to be for, marginalized people, here for Black people, and all of that. It's just crazy to me that they're willing to use these sorts of talking points just to gain political advantage. It's like ignoring like the reality of what happened. So I just want to, and I'm going to show you a fact check.
Yes.
I'm gonna start with the first page just for you guys to see. All right. Now, it's probably hard for you guys to read this, but let me just say, okay, first of all, let me explain. Let's explain what happened with Amber Thurman. Amber Thurman, she lived in Georgia, right?
Yes.
I forgot what state she went to, but she
North
went
Carolina.
it was North Carolina where she went to do it.
Besides North Carolina or South Carolina, she went up to.
I think she was beyond the okay, so they had like that 6-week ban over there. But according to that ban, there's never a ban on abortion whenever like there's no fetal heartbeat or it doesn't present like imminent danger to the mother. I don't know if the law still exists right now in Georgia, but I know at the time that's where it was, and that was because it was automatically triggered, that law, after the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So I don't know
Right.
where Georgia stands right now at this moment. But
It's
what
still the
she
same bill. It's still the same thing.
Oh, it's still the same. Okay. So she went to North Carolina. She was later than 6 weeks. I believe it was 9 weeks. And she took and she took she got the chemical abortion pill. But the thing
Yes.
is, as stated in that hearing, the longer, like the further you are along in your pregnancy, the higher the risk of complications from taking the chemical abortion pills. So she did take it, and at some point when she got back home and she like threw up blood and she got really sick, and so she got rushed to the hospital. It turned out that she had sepsis.
Sepsis.
She had sepsis. Now, the process, like it took long. Like they took her in the hospital. They were checking her out. They said they smelled like an odor
A
coming from.
foul odor coming from her. The thing with sepsis is they try to calm that down before they can do anything else. That's the first thing you have to do. And it was
Right.
taking them long to get that calm.
Right. Okay.
And then she was supposed to, they didn't get to do the things that they were supposed to do, which was the ultrasound and all these other things that were necessary to see why she was doing why she was reacting the way she was. And yes, by you, Pete, she was pregnant with twins. And that was the other
Yes.
issue.
Right. And I think I'm not a medical professional, but it was twins. And there's a question behind that because that's two fetuses in there, and I'm wondering if that could have contributed to the ineffectiveness of that pill that she took. But basically there was fetal tissue and things left behind in her body, which is what led to the infection, to the
Yes.
sepsis. And so I don't know if they were trying to figure it out, but I see people using this. Well, basically, they were, and y'all know, you go to the emergency room and sometimes they take super long to try to figure
Yes, they
things out.
do.
And I know it was reported they were trying to stabilize her. And
Hmm.
when they finally took her to do the DNC,
Hmm.
the clean out, that they said she died on the operating table. Now,
Yep.
the problem I have with this is that Democrats are saying that it was the abortion law that killed her. It had
Right.
nothing to do with the abortion laws. It was actually the abortion pill that took her. So the thing is, it's like you have the people who are out there who are pro-life. It's like they have been very much advocating for, I guess, the removal of this drug,
Yes,
or
because the thing with an abortion pill, and I'm saying it because I had to take one, and it's not one, it's two. You take two pills. The thing with it is you are you can when you take something like that, your whole body is basically expelling what's inside of you. And when it's expelling what's inside of you, it may not get everything out of you. If everything is not the right way, you could begin hemorrhaging. If everything is not treated the right way, and a lot of times you, as the doctor says, they give you a pamphlet, and with this pamphlet, they're basically telling you can contact them or call the hospital and things of that nature. But you may not even know that something is wrong with you. Because part of it is they're saying that you feel cramping, you feel uncomfortable, you
right,
feel sick. So your mind isn't at the point of you understanding that, oh, something's wrong, until technically it's too late a lot of the times. And when I say too late, you're already at the point of, I need to be seen ASAP and something needs to be taken care of immediately. So the fact that they're giving these things out, like I keep saying, like Skittles, people can order it online. No
mm,
one is checking. The thing is, when I had to, this was years ago, and I am now pro-life, 100% pro-life, because I feel like this whole thing is ridiculous. But when I had to do it, they had to check me, make sure I was a certain number of weeks, because you couldn't be more than a certain number of weeks, because the pill wouldn't work, and it can cause you a lot of problems. And yes, YWIS 75, many women would die at home because they don't know what's happening with their body. So what happened with Amber Thurman was exactly that, sepsis. No one knew what was going on. And when people are touting it as a political talking point and not
yeah,
realizing this family, this is medical malpractice. Let's just be real. They didn't
exactly,
do what they were supposed to do when, either up when she went to the clinic to get the abortion pill, because, and I just checked it, Tony, she went to North Carolina. So they didn't check to see how far along she was. They gave her the pill. They didn't check and see everything to make sure that she was a viable candidate for it. Then she came home, she took it, she wasn't feeling well, and then she gets to the hospital, and the hospital didn't get her in, because we, like you said, we know, all know, we get into the hospital and they think you're saying your stomach is hurting, you have a fever. They initially don't take it as an emergency. They're like, okay,
right,
someone just came in with a bullet wound, let me go deal with that person over there,
right,
instead of focusing on you. So with her being in that state and dying on the, you see how I'm struggling to say that, because I'm sitting here thinking
yeah,
I'm like, I was about to say unaliving on the table. I'm like
yeah,
trying to figure out my
yeah.
words,
We
but
can speak freely here on
yes.
Rumble.
So dying on the operation table, right there, all of that, the whole entire thing, malpractice. But Kamala wants to use that as her talking point, and everything that she's saying is a lie. And the worst part about it, and people have to realize this, the worst part about this is something that happened 2 years ago. If Kamala really cared,
They would have said something way
they
before
would have
that.
said something 2 years ago.
That's
She
true.
and yes, they think it's a stomach flu. Exactly that, Starla. That's exactly what it is.
I just want to read this real quick because after, she went to North Carolina, it says 4 days later, Miss Thurman vomited blood and passed out. She was taken by ambulance to Piedmont Hospital. She arrived at the hospital at 6:51 p.m., but wasn't assessed until 9:30 p.m. She was put on an IV drip, and the OBGYN noted the possibility of a DNC the next day, despite noting a foul-smelling vaginal odor. It's unclear when the doctor diagnosed acute severe sepsis. Eventually, 7 hours later, doctors attempted surgery, but she died on the operating table. And this is from a malpractice attorney. He said, in my opinion, as a malpractice attorney, Ms. Thurman would have died regardless of pro-life laws. And he used as an example Lisa Hoffler, who that's her name, Lisa Hoffler. She would most likely perform a DNC on Miss Atkins. Okay, no, Miss Lisa Hoff. Okay, it's Atkins. The person, her name was
Keisha
Atkins.
Atkins. Yeah, Keisha Atkins.
Keisha Atkins. She was in New Mexico, I believe, one of
Mm-hmm.
the most pro-abortion states, and she basically had a similar procedure. She did the same thing with the abortion pill, and she had a similar procedure. She got sepsis. She went there and she died on the table. So the argument is basically whether it's whatever the laws are like, that pill is what poses a great danger. And I guess there'll be some people that'll say, oh, well, if they didn't have the 6-week abortion ban at the time, maybe, she could have just gotten it done. But then again, so that if that's the case, why didn't she go and get it done in North Carolina where she went? So
Exactly.
it's like we're looking for all of these excuses to blame other people for our own decisions. And that's, to me, that's a problem. And I just think it was really sick and depraved to try to use that young lady's death, for politics. You know what I'm saying? And
It is.
ever since it was fact checked, like, people were kind of pushing back against it, and now you don't really hear people talking about it so much. And I just think that shows how disingenuous Democrats have been in talking about how they really care about what happened, and and I want to. And here's the thing. And now when people say fact check, I want to show you. I want to show you the articles that they were sharing about this. Like, look, you see that?
Exactly.
Look at the title. Amber Thurman was killed by Georgia's abortion ban. There will be others. You hear that language that they're using? What's
Mm-hmm.
this next one? An abortion ban killed Amber Thurman and likely many more.
And that's why I keep saying stuff like that. That any attorney will take this information and bring it in and say, but no, it wasn't malpractice. It was the abortion law.
Yeah, MSNBC. Georgia's pro-life abortion ban literally killed a woman, and she won't be the last. Like, how are these people getting away with this shit? How are they getting
Exactly.
away with this?
Exactly. Exactly. And I want women to understand, as much as Kamala stands up and says she is for women's rights, women empowerment, women hear me roar. I need you to understand, it is very known that this abortion pill, this chemical abortion, does way more harm than good. It doesn't do any good, but it causes harm. It sends women into the hospital. Women are losing their lives over this, and they're pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing this out instead of, like Tony was saying, you're not talking about things that could help women reproductively. You're not talking about how to help fibroids. You're not talking about how to help with postpartum. You're not talking about how to help diagnose endometriosis or adenomyosis, things that women suffer with trying to have children. They're not
Right,
discussing that. They're only
right.
discuss. And our dear friend Angel pointed out something so lovely. He said the thing is, if we want, yes, there are women who don't want to have children. We get that. So why aren't they allowing, instead of pushing the abortion this, abortion that, women should have the right to go ahead and tubal ligation. They can go ahead and get an early hysterectomy, whatever they need if they don't want to have children. Yes, YWIS 75, PCOS as well. They could do all of that. But instead of doing that, let's harm the mother, harm the child. Let's not fix the situation before it gets to that point, meaning remove your ability to have children. No, let's let you get pregnant, have a baby in there. And regardless of what anybody says, I'm always going to go back to my Christian roots, which is God said he knew you even before you were formed in your mother's womb. So therefore, that is a baby. I don't care what anybody says, that was a baby. And you just killed a baby for no reason.
Right. And I do want to say this. I find it really scary that so many black people are supporting this nonsense, because once again, when you look at these stories, these are black women's stories, black women who were victim of this chemical abortion pill that Democrats are basically telling you, hey, it's safe. It's safer than Tylenol. They had the DNC convention just, what was it, a month ago. And at the convention, they literally had abortion trucks outside of the convention in the middle of Chicago, where they were telling people to come and get their free abortions, giving them the chemical abortion pills. They also had a truck for vasectomies, giving men free vasectomies. What do you think they're telling you, black people? They don't want to see any more of you. They don't want you to reproduce. And yet we are somehow looking at abortion as the civil rights issue of our time. With all of the things that we are facing as a community, you mean to tell me that this is what is important to you when you can just practice responsibility? Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about abstinence? Why aren't we talking about, different measures that you can take to protect yourself outside of killing, terminating a life because it's inconvenient to you? We already know what the numbers are on abortions as it pertains to the exceptions, right? The products of the three exceptions. We know that those numbers are like in the one when you combine them all together, it's like 1.5%.
Yep.
What about the other almost 99%? So at what point are we going to really talk responsibility, right? Talk accountability, instead of following behind these politics that are presented to us by white liberals who really aren't invested in our communities, and they're not invested in life. They're not invested in the ideals of family and community. They demonize it. And so I'm going to do we'll do one more quick fact check, because this just came out today and we wanted to just kind of give this breaking news, because there's another fact check that people were doing on Donald Trump, right? Where he kept saying they're emptying their jails and their mental institutions into our country. Meanwhile, he said their crime rates are going down and ours are going up. Now, I saw them fact check Donald Trump in that debate, but it was an incorrect fact check, because they weren't using the complete reported statistics, the information, the data, and a lot of the data, the FBI stats that came out, they were omitted. They conveniently omitted some of the highest crime blue state precincts, like in New York, in Los Angeles, California, like in Chicago. It was conveniently missing information from the most high crime blue states. So, but I just figured I'd add something to that conversation since we're talking about fact checks. So let me just bring this up, because this just came out today. Now, I know y'all gonna have something to say, because, but that's Fox News. We don't believe it, even though I just showed you how MSNBC's been lying to you.
Right.
But let me show you. Just in, new ICE report reveals, now this is an ICE report, it reveals that the Biden-Harris administration has let in 425,000 illegal immigrants who are convicted criminals. That is enough people to fill Michigan's football stadium 4 times. The report says that the following illegals are roaming the country: 13,000 murderers, 15,800 rapists. This is, and you know what? Let me show it to you. Hold on. Let me just play this.
but it's a jaw dropper to say the least. So to set the stage here, let me just explain what these numbers mean. ICE has something called a non-detained docket. Essentially what that is it means migrants who were encountered by DHS but are no longer in federal custody. So who's on this non-detained docket? It's illegal immigrants who were caught and released at the border, released with the court date years away. They're in immigration proceedings, combined with illegal immigrants who have already been ordered deported from the country by a judge, but are still here roaming the country. So keep that in mind, this non-detained docket. According to a letter that the acting director of ICE just sent to Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez, on ICE's non-detained docket, they're currently tracking 425,000 non-citizens who have been convicted of a crime. Of that number, over 13,000 non-citizens have convictions for homicide and are on the non-detained docket, meaning they're roaming the country right now. On top of that, there are another 15,811 non-citizens convicted of sexual assault who are roaming the country right now on ICE's non-detained docket. It doesn't stop there. Those are convictions. The ICE director also says there are currently just under 1,900 non-citizens on the non-detained docket who have pending homicide charges who are roaming the country, and another 4,250.
Oh, sorry. So, yeah.
And they said they're roaming. They don't know where they are.
Right. They don't know where they are. They were let out. So when Donald Trump is talking about, it's crazy to me how we always seem to get black folks to, they try to get black folks to champion causes that always end up affecting our communities the most.
The worst.
Yeah.
The worst. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. So anyway, folks, we just wanted to do this little fact check to give you that little bit of information. Next week, we're going to do a fact check on the border bill that everyone keeps saying that Donald Trump killed. It was such a amazing bill, and he tried to stop it, even though that there was already a single issue bill that dealt directly with our border for 20 billion, but they didn't pass. But they Republicans and Democrats, they instead decided to come up with another bill that with a price tag of 95 billion, with most of that money going to foreign countries. So, it's a big money laundering scheme. There are a couple of things we're going to have some good debunking for you next week. So I hope you all were able to learn something, and I hope you all appreciate it. We'll just check the comments just in case.
People mind are blown, Tony. Right now, I'm just seeing the comments. People are like, what? They did what? And somebody said, how is this our reality? I don't know why this is our reality, y'all.
Yeah. Well, no.
No, they were not.
No, I think what happened is these are people who are convicted criminals in their other countries, people who are convicted of murder and rape and all of these sorts of things in their countries, and they have been allowed access to come in here. And so this is basically what's being let into our country. And so, you don't let anyone demonize you for being concerned about your safety, about the sovereignty of this nation. I mean, there's nothing racist about saying that you want a border wall. I never understood that, to be honest with you, especially when you had this guy, Barack Obama, talking about, immigration in very strong terms. He was the deporter in chief. That's what they used to call him. But it only became a horrible thing when Donald Trump started talking about it. Now, I know Donald Trump has a lot of inflammatory language, but in this moment right now, listen, the only thing that's being projected from this administration is weakness, and it's being projected on a world stage. And not only weakness, but chaos, just dysfunction. And so before you guys go in that voting booth, make sure you know what you're voting for. Make sure you check and double check the information that is being given to you, because you're given a skewed perception of what is actually happening. And so hopefully we were able to equip you guys with some new information, maybe to arm you in your future conversations with your friends and family, so that you can maybe pull them over to a little bit more common sense perspective.
Yes, people, because we can't just read the titles, the clickbaits, because it's just a little clickbait, not telling you the truth. But when you dive in, you actually see the truth. You see what they're really doing. And I just want to say about that border wall, I always say this. We have locks in our houses for a reason. I'm not letting anybody in my house. You're not letting anybody in your house. We have doors, locks, all of that to protect us in our home. So therefore, we say we're putting a border wall to protect our home. The U.S. is our
That's
home,
right.
people. We got to protect it. We can't just let anybody in here.
That's right. That's right. That's such a good example, though. It's like if you just leave your door wide open and people come in, aren't you kicking their ass out?
Exactly. Immediately.
That's
Immediately.
crazy. But not only are Democrats telling you that you need to let them in, but you got to prepare them dinner. You got to
Mm-hmm.
go in your wallet and give them your
Mm-hmm.
your bank card,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to take them in your house and you got to take care of them for the unforeseeable future.
Exactly. You got to go
Now,
without. I should
yeah,
go without so that they're taken care of.
yeah. Don't worry about your kids. Don't worry about
Mm-mm,
your the rest of your family. They
mm-mm.
get priority. And so
Absolutely.
y'all could call that whatever you want to call it. Oh man, there was another fact check thing I wanted to do too, but damn.
We'll save it for next week because I see people are putting in the comments. They have some things they
Don't
want us to fact check, like the police immunity. Someone asked if we could. So I jotted down here so that we could kind of look that up, so that we know. Um, thank you, P. Mortada.
Okay,
And,
okay.
and again, for everybody, again, because I keep seeing people saying this in the comments. Yes, the Amber Thurman death happened 2 years ago. I know Kamala is talking about it like it just
Right
happened last
now,
week, last month.
yes,
No, it's 2 years ago. But this is to tell you how they decide to do things. They want to, again, Kamala's platform is about feelings. She's trying to trigger feelings. She doesn't want to stay with facts. If you watch her talk, it's not about facts, it's all about feelings. So she's going to use things that would upset you, make you angry, make you hurt, but it's not factual if you actually pay attention and do the research.
that's right. That's right. Listen, at the end of the day, feelings don't pay the bills.
No,
And
no.
when we get to the point where we're mature enough to admit that, I think we'll finally start to make some progress. Don't let these people trigger you into acting and voting against your best interests. Right now, in this moment, I'm seeing an awakening of the American people, not just black people, because man, everything I'm feeling encouraged because I think people are tired of the gaslighting. They're tired of all of the lies, the insults, the bullying. We're tired of it. And it's time for us to shift in another direction. So I'm here for it. I love this awakening that we're experiencing. Please, folks, don't ever be apologetic in speaking the truth. There's no such thing as your truth or my truth. It is only the truth. Learn objectivity and also understand that in order to be objective, you don't have to be neutral to be objective. Neutrality requires that you kind of put everything on the same level. But when you're an objective person, you're able to look at things critically and make an informed perspective. That means if this person is wrong, then you're going to call out that person for being wrong. Doesn't mean you hate them, or doesn't mean you're against everything they do. But what they are doing in that moment, you need to be able to call them out for the wrong that they're doing. And what I am seeing done today by the Biden Harris administration is they are not only undermining, but they are violating the constitutionally protected rights of American citizens, whether it be from the First Amendment, trying to use these big tech platforms as proxies to censor you and your speech. Think about it, folks. When have you ever experienced a time in your life that you have been so silenced from being able to use your voice? The internet, social media, that's a public square. And we need to create a new standard where these platforms are treated as public utilities, because that's pretty much where all of the discourse has been taking place. But it's unfortunately a huge part of the propaganda that has been spread. So don't allow these corrupt politicians, these intel agencies, to brainwash you into seeing a completely different view of what's actually out here in society. Listen, there's nothing more dangerous to a corrupt government than an informed public. And it's our job here to make sure that all of you guys are informed. So once again, thank you guys. Remember, it's always best to start those new conversations with people. Talk to people that you're not used to talking to. You know, learn to agree with people that you don't even like. Because what? A broken clock gets it right, what, twice a day?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you and your enemy, or who you see as your enemy, you may find out that you guys have a lot more in common than not. That's why I'm very happy for the new circle that I've created in some of these social media spaces. There are so many brilliant minds out there, folks, but you have to discover your own power. Self-empowerment is very important. You got to build up your self-confidence. Don't let people bully you out of your own voice. So anyway, with that, I love y'all. We appreciate you. Please follow Crystal. That's her handle right there. That's your handle on. Oh, it's already
Yes.
spelled out.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal Beyond Labels on all platforms except X. What do
Mm-hmm.
you, Crystal? Okay, I'll give you guys a second to copy that down. You already know me. I'm Tony Lindsay on most, whatever. Find me here. Find me on Instagram. And always remember, no matter how tough things get, no matter how angry you get, we all need to talk. Thank you
Tony,
for joining us.
make everybody thumbs up the video.
Oh, thumbs up, share, like, subscribe. Now I gotta do my outro again.
Do your outro
Yeah,
again. We just got to make sure we get them likes so the video can get out there.
Yeah. See, I'm not even really used to doing all of that. But yeah, so just remember, at the end of the day, no matter how rough things get, no matter how angry you are, at the end of the day, we all need to talk. Peace.